Today, we're taking a deep dive into the beating heart of the hydrogen economy, the world of offtake agreements. If you're a developer, an investor, or a policymaker, or just curious about how hydrogen is moving from promise to reality, settle in. This episode is packed with economic insight, practical examples, and a forward-looking pro-hydrogen analysis right from the latest August 2025 Oxford Institute for Energy Studies report. Let's go beyond the headlines and into the substance of what it takes to build a clean hydrogen market. It starts and ends with offtake. These contracts are the backbone of every credible hydrogen business model. Why? Because producing clean hydrogen, whether green from renewables or blue from natural gas with carbon capture, demands enormous upfront capital. And investors, public and private, aren't cutting checks on hopes and dreams. They want robust, long-term commercial commitments. That's what an offtake agreement delivers. Over 5 million tons per year of capacity has already reached FID globally, with marquee deals signed in the US, Europe, and the Middle East, and Asia. We're seeing rapid progress, but also recognizing that translating early-stage memorandums of understanding into binding contracts remains a challenge. And why is that? The clean hydrogen trade is, at its core, so new that legacy gas, LNG, and power contracts aren't enough. They offer shapes and reference points, but don't capture the unique risk profile of hydrogen. Think policy-linked business models, certification regimes, and markets moving towards cost parity with hydrocarbon incumbents. First, let's clarify what these contracts really do. A hydrogen offtake agreement, or H2SPA, secures sales of a defined volume of hydrogen or derivative products, think ammonia, methanol, or synthetic fuels, over long periods, usually 10 to 15 years. The parties? They're industrial users, utilities blending hydrogen into the grid, mobility and fleet operators, and aggregators. Each one is seeking to decarbonize, and each one needs reliable, certified low-carbon molecules. But the market DNA of hydrogen is radically different from mature commodities. Clean hydrogen is capital intensive, with significant regulatory and policy uncertainty. Unlike gas, which developed over decades with minimal government involvement, hydrogen's market existence currently depends on direct support. Think production tax credits, investment grants, and contracts for difference. Most agreements are still conditional on these interventions. If subsidies fade, the economics wobble. Consider recent case studies. ExxonMobil and Marubeni signed a contract for 250,000 tons per year of nearly carbon-free ammonia from Texas. RWE and TotalEnergies inked a 15-year deal for 30,000 tons of green hydrogen annually, kicking off in 2030. Fertiglobe's deal in Egypt runs for 20 years with a €397 million value. And Acme's Indian green ammonia supply for Yara marks the largest arm's-length transaction yet. These are not just business moves, they are foundational, signaling market maturity and giving first-mover players real strategic advantage. And so let's zero in on the main commercial drivers. Duration is critical. Whereas gas and LNG contracts sometimes ran for 20 years, hydrogen agreements typically land at 10 to 15. Why shorter? Buyers are cautious in an emerging space, fully aware that costs of production will decline as technology improves and market liquidity emerges. They're poised to benefit from future efficiency, not locked into static deals. Pricing is another battleground. Unlike natural gas, there's no transparent market benchmark for hydrogen yet. That means contract prices are negotiated, sometimes cost plus, sometimes netback, fixed, or hybrid. All come with pros and cons. For fixed price contracts, especially in pilot projects or those linked to long-term power purchase agreements, price certainty is valuable, but can drift out of line as technologies mature and input costs fall. Partial fixed models, allowing periodic adjustments based on power prices, inflation, or indexed costs, are gaining favor. A central challenge: up until now, hydrogen prices are often linked to price of electricity, that for green, or natural gas for blue, and sometimes even ammonia. But these cross-commodity indexes expose hydrogen deals to external market volatility, which can undermine stability and create contract disputes. Sellers want predictable revenue, buyers crave flexibility. The solution isn't straightforward, and until liquid hydrogen price benchmarks develop, each deal is essentially bespoke. Government support adds both complexity and opportunity. Contracts must clearly stipulate how subsidies are applied and reported, who absorbs risk if they're challenged or revoked, and critically, how price is adjusted in tandem with support mechanisms. It's It's a brave new world, unfamiliar to oil and gas traders, but essential for project bankability in hydrogen. On volume, take or pay remains the anchor. Buyers commit to paying for a set share of the annual contract quantity, even if it's not physically taken. But whereas early LNG contracts pushed take or pay up to 90%, hydrogen deals are more flexible, usually ranging 60 to 80%. As government subsidies and equity participation become more prevalent, bankability can be maintained even with lower volume guarantees. No hydrogen contract survives on rigidity. The evolution towards greater volume flexibility, embodying downward quantity tolerance, make-up rights, and carry-forward provisions, mirrors lessons learned from LNG. This lets buyers reduce risk in the face of uncertain demand or variable supply. It's all about adaptability, whether through long nomination windows, the option to defer or cancel cargoes, or mechanisms to carry forward unused quantity. Quality is the next frontier. Specification clauses in hydrogen contracts address both purity and carbon footprint. Certification is becoming non-negotiable, with buyers demanding third-party validation, life cycle emissions accounting, and guarantees of origin. This is the price premium, market value, and crucially, the eligibility for government support. Delivery of off-spec hydrogen can have serious consequences: rejected cargoes, price penalties, and even contract termination in extreme cases. Transportation further complicates matters. For regional trade, pipeline delivery is efficient but needs major investment and regulatory clarity. For international deals, shipping rules the day, with hydrogen typically converted to ammonia or shipped as liquid hydrogen. Incoterms such as DES, or Delivered Ex Ship, or FOB, Free on Board, define risk allocation. But the technical challenges of shipping hydrogen, material compatibility, cryogenic storage, and safety protocols require complicated contract frameworks. Now, let's talk risk management, price review, and force majeure. Price review clauses allowing renegotiation if market fundamentals shift, technology advances, or input costs dramatically change are vital for both seller stability and buyer flexibility. These clauses are carefully constructed with clear triggers, negotiation steps, and pathways to mediation or arbitration. Hydrogen projects must plan for disruptions well beyond the norm. Electrolyzer or SMR failures, supply chain hiccups, even force majeure events specific to hydrogen blending or ammonia cracking. Each risk is unique to hydrogen and must be meticulously mapped in every agreement. So let's be direct. Government support and policy are central to hydrogen economics. Unlike the gas sector, where state intervention was fleeting and indirect, hydrogen lives and dies by the stability of subsidies, certification, and regulatory mandates. If a contract tender is built on public incentives, regulation change or subsidy loss can trigger renegotiation, price adjustments, or rarely termination. A well-drafted contract weighs these risks, spelling out what constitutes a change in law, how price or obligation will adjust, and what thresholds trigger good faith negotiation or third-party resolution. Arbitration remains the formal backbone for cross-border disputes, but expert determination and mediation are becoming more common, especially for technical disagreements or price recalibration. Risk allocation in hydrogen contracts also demands alignment across every link in the value chain. Contracts for production, transportation, and delivery must synchronize definitions and triggers for force majeure, change in law, and price review. This avoids costly gaps or conflicts, especially in complex multi-party, multi-jurisdiction environments. Now, turning to market evolution, here's where it gets exciting. The 2020s are the era of foundational contracts, long-term deals often anchored by government support or first-mover off-takers. The 2030s will see diversification, shorter tenors, more adaptable structures, hybrid deals with embedded future options for switching between natural gas and hydrogen, and by the 2040s, hydrogen contracting could mature into a global trading framework marked by liquidity, risk management instruments, and standardization, echoing the LNG industry's rise. Pulling this all together, I want to emphasize hydrogen offtake agreements are the bedrock for unlocking investment, underpinning risk, and deploying clean molecules at scale. The sector faces hurdles, uncertainty on price benchmarks, shifting policy, contract complexity, and technical risk. But every binding contract is a signal to the market. Capital is flowing, volumes are moving, and the transition is on. Given the challenges, why am I optimistic? Because the speed of contract innovation in hydrogen is outpacing the development curves seen in gas and LNG. For every project financed, for every supply deal signed, for every dispute navigated, industry practice is consolidating, benchmarks are inching closer, and liquidity is growing. Government intervention, while a crutch today, is laying market foundations, sharpening private sector engagement, and attracting the institutional money needed to deploy at continental scale. My pro-hydrogen message for the boardroom, for the C-suite, and for national leaders listening today is simple. Realize that contracts are not just paperwork. They are engines of growth, instruments of security, and gateways to a lower carbon, globally competitive future. Structure them wisely, adapt them quickly, and let them lead the market toward price discovery, reliability, and enduring commercial value. Look ahead to a market where hydrogen is bankable not just for decarbonization, but because it's profitable. Contractual resilience will drive cost reductions, supply expansion, and technical breakthroughs. As we move from bespoke, complex agreements to liquid trading, hydrogen's journey will be mapped by these deals, and the nations and companies signing them will shape tomorrow's energy economy. All right, that's it for me, everyone. If you have a second, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a good review on whatever platform it is that you listen to. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, whatever it is. That would be a tremendous help to the show. And as always, if you ever have any feedback, you're welcome to email me directly at info@thehydrogenpodcast.com. So until next time, keep your eyes up and honor one another.